have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song, you should stop by.
So cool.
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. We are finally talking about Barbie. We have dressed for the occasion. I am Jeff, but today I am known as Dog Dad Ken because I have all my dogs on my shirt and I got some pink on underneath. And this is my friend Ahmed, or just Ken, as he told me to call him before the show.
I am Knuff, all right?
He is Knuff, okay. But yeah, we can't match that performance by Ryan Gosling, even if we tried. And every performance in this movie is hilarious and very deep. A lot more deep than you're expecting when it comes to a Barbie movie. Ahmed, my initial thoughts on this movie was it's hilarious for one. It has a lot of heart, and it has some of the coolest design sets I've ever seen in any movie. What about you?
You're definitely right about it's got a lot of heart. A lot of, like every movie, I'm not really sure what to expect. And with Barbie, some of the trivia that I heard was it's not going to be your typical movie about toys. And it's not. It's really a movie about reality that just so happens to feature a specific toy doll. So it's really for adults, despite its, appeal to children. It's really a movie for adults and really our generation, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a very millennial movie for sure, especially when, they're talking about this is anxiety and depression Barbie. And I was like, oh man, that is what I deal with on an everyday basis. And then there's just some other commentary in there about being self-conscious and just a lot of messages really packed in for adults in this movie. Yeah, there's a lot, man. There's a lot to unpack.
Where do we start, Jeff?
I mean, let's start at the beginning of it all. Just like at the beginning of the movie when Margot Robbie as stereotypical Barbie arrives on the scene. Every day is a party. Every day is her best day ever until one day an existential crisis comes down and Barbie starts thinking about death and what comes after, and has to pay a visit to Weird Barbie. Weird Barbie might be the MVP of the movie, but we are off and running after that. I loved Margot Robbie as this character. I thought she was actually the perfect person to play Barbie. She looks like what you would imagine Barbie come to life would be. Ryan Gosling as Ken, a lot darker than I expected him to go. Holy crap. Yeah. He stole a lot of scenes in this movie, and honestly, we could see an actor playing a live action version of a Ken doll become nominated for Best Supporting Actor, I think, come Oscar season. So those are my three big performances.
1,000%. I mean, damn, it's really hard to choose. But if I had to pick, of course Ken, of course Margot Robbie as Barbie. And you were right. I don't know. I think Sydney Sweeney could pull off Barbie, but that's just because I have a crush on Sydney Sweeney. And I'm only saying this on record because my wife knows I have a crush on Sydney Sweeney. So, yeah. But I thought having Simu Liu as well as another Ken and just having all these different guys and all these different characters. Issa Rae as Barbie as well as President Barbie is really something. You have to really be on something to really find fault with the movie, because like we talked about earlier, there's so many things that are just left to unpack. You have Weird Barbie, who is played by Kate McKinnon, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a culmination of how people mistreat their toys. They're condemned as freaks, but really they're just products of society. And as products of society, that's how people like Ken can become so dark and so very full of themselves, if you will. For those that aren't aware or have been living under a rock, calling someone a Ken is kind of like calling them a douchebag. And one can only become a douchebag if they're pushed to certain limits. So I don't kind of fault people for going through hardships, but I do find people that aren't willing to better themselves.
Yeah, and this Ken definitely does become a douchebag, and there's a lot of commentary on just like men and women. Ken is kind of uh, love drunk off of the real world and the role of men there, and it has a lot of deeper commentary to this movie for sure. I thought Ryan Gosling was channeling Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai and Karate Kid 1 energy. Just such an unlikable douche at some points.
Dude, yes, but now what do we know about for those who have been following me and Jeff's views on Cobra Kai? Johnny Lawrence is pretty likable. You kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And same thing with Ken. It's that he's always been a secondary character, which is why he and Simu Lee are sort of, and all the other Kens really are pitted against each other because their sole existence, their sole purpose for existing is to be in Barbie's eyes, somebody that she can admire. And because they're too busy being presidents, astronauts, and everything else that women are totally capable of being, they're pitted against each other like primates. And that's who we are as men. We're very primal in nature. So I get it.
Yeah, and that's the lesson that the Kens have to learn by the end of this movie after, the Barbie dream houses are turned into, was it Mojo Dojo Casa houses? Oh, man. So
that was
insane.
A douche with a capital bag.
Man, I don't know anybody that loves horses as much as Ken loves horses. Maybe Nikola Jokic, which is my MVP player for the Denver Nuggets. He loves horses too. But Ken has some really funny lines during this part of the movie where he says, at one point I thought horses ran society for a quick minute, and then I just found out they were men extenders. I was like, oh my God, this is so hilarious, this movie.
Well, but that opens up a wormhole in and of itself, or a rabbit hole, if you will, where there are so many people that do things for one reason, and then it just becomes something else. It just evolves. Amazon used to be a place where people just used to buy books. It was just an alternative bookstore. And then it evolved into now where we just depend on groceries and everyday things. Hashtag shout out to Jeff Bezos. But you know what I mean? It's little things like, even think about, our own life. How many times have we done things to impress somebody, and then it ends up becoming, we've made a career out of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing with this movie. It's anybody can be who they want to be. For Barbie, she's so much more than, just stereotypical Barbie, and just that's her only role. She goes to the real world at the end. She wants to make a difference. She wants to be the one who plays a hand in creating happiness and memories for little girls everywhere. For Ken, he wants to be more than somebody who's just trying to impress Barbie, because there's a line at the start of this movie where they say, Barbie has a great day every day, but Ken only has a good day if Barbie acknowledges him, or something along those lines. So Ken learns his lesson on a much darker path. Barbie, it's a more emotional path to where she really has to find out who she is deep inside. And I really love that. And then you bring in the mother-daughter duo of America Ferrara and her daughter in this movie, and they're our eyes and ears into this world. And that's really where the deeper meaning of all the messages come in, is how this mother and daughter are kind of reconnecting over this kind of shared love of Barbie from a long, long time ago, and just kind of pushing the story forward that way.
Yeah, but it's just hearing this, you can be whatever you want to be. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure in and of that in and of itself, trying to be a mother, a career woman, while juggling the struggles of society. I grew up in a generation or a time where women have like been better at everything than men have. My sisters are a lot smarter than my brothers. My mother has done way more than I ever will accomplish. And my father fought in Vietnam. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where, like, it very much can seem problematic that, like, you have someone like Barbie who, on the one hand, is trying to show that you can be everything, but then you have these standards of beauty that are, you know, very troubling in and of itself. And as men, we've been able to, because we've won so much, that we don't have to look at somebody like Ryan Gosling and go, how am I supposed to compete with that? Because we can be Ken, and to quote the song, that's good enough. And men that haven't been able to reconcile that you can be just who you are and that's good enough, is something that we take for granted as men, that women unfortunately have not been able to. It's not enough to just to be a woman. You have to be 110,000 things at once.
Yeah, women are superheroes, and I was lucky enough to be raised by, my grandma and my mom, and just being around my sister and my wife. Like, they are all super women. Like, they are so strong, and they hold our family together. Like, without them, like, my life would be completely different. So, like, 100% love the message that this movie brought forth.
My wife is intelligent. There's so many. You haven't been able to meet her, Jeff, but when you do, you'll be like, yeah, Ahmed, she's out of your league. You're out of her league. Which I never know the sayings, but she's better than me at everything. There's things that I'm better at than her in certain aspects, but the point is not being able to feel like I have to compete with other people. I don't have to compete with other Kens. I don't have to try to impress a potential Barbie to have a soul existence. And when you don't know the difference between those, that's when you just are angry. It's easy to be angry at shit you don't understand. And so for anyone that is too afraid to watch this movie, I would really hope that, you kind of put your ego aside, or look for, or consider therapy, consider talking to somebody. Just fucking go watch the movie. Get out of your head and watch the fucking movie.
Like, this movie is a game changer. This is one of those rare movies that come out every few years where it's like, hey, something happened here where this is going to be a blueprint for a lot of movies moving forward.
It definitely is a revolutionary film, and it does suck that it kind of comes out around the same time, if not the same time as Oppenheimer, which I did see today, and we will be reviewing that soon. But yeah, it's one of those movies that also takes inspiration from other films. The way the film starts out is like 2001: A Space Odyssey. The film's theme is inspired by The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey, and it's very existential, very philosophical. It's not your typical toy movie. The Lego Movie, was one of those where it was like a cute for kids movie. This is for the adults.
Yeah, like there's stuff for kids in here too, but I would say this is like the most adult property based on a kid's toy that we've ever gotten. Transformers, there's been some like jokes and stuff in there that are more aimed toward parents, but this movie has a lot deeper meaning to it. And I did see like a lot of Elf in this movie, which is crazy that Will Ferrell's in it, especially when they're traveling to the real world and they're flying in a rocket, they're paddling on a boat, just kind of how Will Ferrell leaves the North Pole. But Ahmed, there's so much to say about this. There's so much to unpack, and the deeper meanings and everything. Who was your favorite character of this movie?
Jeff, don't make me choose.
And we could do more than one.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll have to say the Kens, all of them, just because they were great. America Ferrera stole the show. Kate McKinnon, who I don't you really care for. Sorry, she did an amazing job though in this movie, and she does do an amazing job in everything she does. I just don't care for her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But and Margot Robbie, of course, like without her, this movie wouldn't be the same. Rhea Perlman as Ruth, the
Yeah.
creator of Mattel, or the founder of Mattel, and the creator of the Barbie doll. Like, wow, you could not have picked a better person for it. Rhea Perlman is also Danny DeVito's wife. Fun fact: Danny DeVito made the movie
Matilda?
Matilda. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
directed it. Like, so just talent, 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 talent. And Will fucking Ferrell. You talked
Yeah.
about Elf. Elf was one of those movies that a lot of people doubted. And now Barbie's going to be one of those movies. People
Yeah.
doubted it. And now it's going to make a year. It just sucks that I mean, it's a blessing and a curse that it comes during a year when so many amazing movies have come out.
I think it stands like pretty high up when it comes to like what we've gotten this year. And I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, but right now I would put this as my second favorite movie of the year. Uh, Across the Spider-Verse, I don't think is going to be beat for me because I thought it was game changing in a different way, just animation and art
Yeah.
and blending of that. But this movie does something, it is kind of like Elf and how that kind of game changed things. I think you can make deeper stories out of properties like this. I'm not saying like Hot Wheels is going to be like a Martin Scorsese film or anything like that, but like Greta Gerwig as the director, I give credit to her for really digging into this property and bringing like such an emotional weight to it. And we almost got a version of this movie where it was Amy Schumer as the star of the Barbie movie, and I don't know if it could have gotten as deep as it did with Amy Schumer as the leading character of this world.
But yeah, no, it's one of those movies that it was really hard to make as a successful, like, relatable film, and Greta Gerwig did an amazing job. So kudos to her.
Yeah, for sure. And like the game changing is already real. Like when at my theater and probably at yours, there's a lot of people wearing pink. Like
Everybody.
everybody, guys, girls, kids, like older people. It was really great to see like people get behind a movie like that. But that brings us to our final score, Ahmed. What would you give this on the box office QB scale?
I'd give it a Hall of Fame because it's one of those movies that, like, it's never been made before, and they really set a new standard for. So I don't think there's anything more or less than a Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give it a very high all-star. I I think it is a really important movie moving forward. I loved how this movie looked, how they really brought together like the play sets in real life and everything like that. It's so close to a Hall of Fame for me, but it might get there with a second watch. But right now, we'll do very high All Star. I recommend it. I can't wait to watch it again and maybe pick up on things that I haven't picked up on. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I think it was just awesome. For those who haven't watched it, check it out. Everything is really cool about it. The soundtrack, the acting, the musical scores, and anybody that has made a like a they've already kind of dismissed it. I would encourage them to think otherwise, like to
Yeah.
reconsider. Just watch it.
One more thing for me, one character we didn't mention was Alan, played by Michael Cera. He is hilarious in this
Oh my
movie.
god,
I can't believe
we
we
didn't
forgot
talk
about
about
him.
Will Ferrell either, man.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a
There's a
lot to talk
lot.
about.
I
But
I was initially like when I heard that Michael Cera was playing Alan and they explained who Alan was, I was like, so then what's the big deal? Why would you include him in this message? Like, I thought that they spoiled his only screen time. He has a lot more screen time and he does a pretty good job. So shout out to Michael Cera.
yeah, he has a whole karate sequence, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah,
And And Will Ferrell as, you know, the main boss man, like anything Will Ferrell, he's like King Midas of comedy.
Yeah, he's great as corporate kind of gas bag. He did that in the Lego movie. He does it here, and he is a comedic genius. This movie is comedic gold or pink gold, however you want to say it. Pink, pink, pink. But yes, go see this movie. That is my friend Ahmed. I am Jeff. We'll be back for our review of Oppenheimer. But until then, this has been Box Office Quarterbacks. Like and subscribe.
And for all
here
the
on
men
YouTube.
out there, you are Knuff.
Knuff. Remember this. I will put that sweater on screen during this part. But yes,
$50 sweater, $50 shirt, $60 sweater.
buy it, Ahmed. This is our dare to you.
When I get paid again, I will buy it.
All right.
And then complain about being broke all the damn time.
Good. I am looking forward to that. But this is Box Office Quarterbacks. That's Ahmed. I'm Jeff. We'll talk to you guys very, very soon.